everybody, and welcome back to another afternoon of Paint and Picnic with Bess. And it's the last Saturday, oh no, there's one more, before schools go back. So we've only got one more week, kids, of homeschooling, and then everyone's back at school. Wow, that is going to be so different, isn't it? So I'm quite excited because the kids are excited. They are missing their mates. But today was their first day where they've actually hung out with their friends. So it's really exciting. They're really cool. Today we are doing a turtle. One of our viewers asked to do turtles, so I've drawn a turtle this week already. That video is available for you if you want to check it out. And today we're going to paint one. Now, it's going to get a bit messy because we're going to use our fingers, okay? Things you need. Fingers, check. A paintbrush for doing some details, check. Some paints, I'm using blue, green, yellow, white, and I'm going to use this ochre colour, but you might want to use, this is called golden ochre, you might want to use orange. This is to colour the turtle. So to be honest, you can use whatever colour you want. This is obviously the sea colour, blue and yellow and green, so that we can do the sea, and some white. You'll also need one of these, which is a doily. Mine's left over from Christmas, so you can see the Christmas pattern on it. And these are things that us mummies like to put on plates, and then we put our mince pies on them or cakes on them, and they look pretty, but they're paper. If you haven't got one of these, you could fold over a piece of paper and cut some holes out and create your own pattern, okay? So you could do that, you could quickly do that if you want to. And you need a piece of bubble wrap, okay? It doesn't need to be a brand new piece, it can be one that you've used or it's had a present wrapped on it or something like that. If you haven't got one of these, you can just use your fingers, okay? So don't worry if you haven't got it. All right, I've got a cloth as well just to wipe my fingers on because we are going to get a little bit messy. Now, our turtle painting isn't like the drawing that I did of Tommy the turtle. It's much softer. It's almost like our turtle swimming through the ocean, and it's a really soft, very gentle, atmospheric, which is quite a big word, but it's an atmospheric painting, which I hope you're going to enjoy. And we're going to use our fingers. So here we go. I'm going to start off by putting some blue. Now, I'm just squeezing this on the paper, but you can put it on with a paintbrush if you want to. So I'm just going to squeeze some blue. I'm going to kind of leave this space up here empty. Okay, I'm going to squeeze some white. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say that you need, which I need to go and get, 2 secs, I need to get some cardboard. And I know I've got some in the bin here. Let me just grab a piece. Okay, so you need a piece of cardboard. And mine's literally out of the bin. So it doesn't have to be, we're just going to use it later on. So I'll just put that to one side. Okay, once you've put your paint on the paper, I'm going to add a tiny bit of green. But not too much, because the sea obviously does have some green in it, but I don't want it to be too green. Okay, now using our fingers, we're gonna literally smudge and mush all of that paint around the piece of paper. You're thinking, how on earth is this going to be a turtle, Karen? Well, you just have to trust me. Okay, so we're going to smudge and mush it. I'm going to add a tiny bit of yellow in, just a tiny bit. One bit there. I think I'm going to spread that over. One bit there, one bit there, one bit there. Okay, going to keep mushing. And the reason why I don't want to add too much yellow is obviously when I add yellow to blue, it makes green anyway. So I just wanted to get an area that just had some yellow to it. Okay, so smush. I'm trying to cover the whole piece of paper, which is why, do you remember I came on earlier and said make sure you have got something to cover your clothes and something to cover the table. All right, I just need to pull that colour down there. Okay, this is going to be our ocean. All right, I'm going to wipe my fingers because now I need some of this cardboard. So I'm just going to rip some bits of cardboard up. This could be something out of your recycling bin. Mine's quite thin cardboard because it just came off a canvas. I'm going to fold it in two to make a stronger piece. And then I'm going to scrape through my paint while it's wet, and it will take the paint off but leave the colour behind. Look at that. So you can see this is all the wet part, and I'm just going to rip, once I've used it, look, see all that yucky paint there? I'm just going to take that off and put it to one side and get a clean piece. And it almost tie-dyes. Well, it looks like tie-dye. It dyes the paper and leaves that beautiful pattern. I'm going to rip off a bit more. Scrape. And another piece. Scrape down through here. So I'm scraping off the top layer of paint. It's so much fun. And I found this out really by chance. I was playing around doing something else and I started doing this and I thought, oh my goodness, that is so cool. Now it doesn't matter which way you go because we're going to paint our turtle on the top. And I'm just going to get one more piece. And I'm just, so you can see I'm scraping over the top of my painting and I'm scraping off the excess paint. It is a bit mucky. Okay, good job. All right, once you've done that, where is my, I said for you to get something to mix on. So I'm going to use my mat and I'm just going to put some blue on the mat. Let me give it a shake. Put some blue on my mat. And then I'm going to get my bubble wrap and let's move the blue around like this. And I'm going to get my bubble wrap and I'm going to lay it on the blue colour. And I'm going to lift it up and you can see all that blue has transferred to my bubble wrap. And now I'm going to lay it on and it will print lovely texture, kind of like bubbles in the ocean print. Ready? Look at that. So cool. We'll put some more up here. You can put it wherever you want. And you don't have to keep on putting it back in the blue because it's nice to have bits that are deeper, some bits that are deeper and some bits that aren't. Now I'm just going to take the edges away so you don't have that hard line. And that's our first bit of printing. Now for the doily. Okay, I'm going to use green for this. So I'm going to put some green on my mat there. I am going to use this brush here. This brush here is, it's a children's brush and I cut it really short. So it was about that long and I cut it in half so that it ended up being like a stippling brush for stenciling. So it's nice and strong and nice and stiff. Whereas if you used a soft brush, look, you can see the bristles are really soft and it doesn't stipple. So I'm going to put my doily down here, dip it in the green. And now I'm going to hold my brush vertically, which means it's up and down, and I stab through my doily with the bright green, and what it ends up doing is it transfers that pattern through on the piece of paper and looks gorgeous. So we're sort of doing seaweed. I'm going to hold that up really close so you can see. There you go. You can see how beautiful that looks. And then I'm going to do some more. So let's get some, I'm going to do some over the bubbles. Doilies are really beautiful. If you ever do anything like scrapbooking, or let's say you might make cards, having some doilies in your art kit is really lovely to give you that really pretty texture in the background. Pulling it back. And you've got a lovely soft, just design and image. Now I want to do a highlighted one. So I'm going to use some white, give it a shake and a squeeze. I'm going to turn it round to use the area that I've not painted, and I'm going to put it up the top. Just dry out my brush to get the green out. Okay. You want to try not to move it. It's a bit like if you're doing tracing. You don't want to move it. You just want to stamp it up and down to get that beautiful colour to come through. Got my fingers stuck on it there. A little bit more white. So you can see what I mean, that if you cut some holes out of a bit of paper, you would end up creating your own doily effect. Loving that. I'm going to do another one here. And you could do as many as you want, and you could do whatever colours you want. So let's say you wanted to do purples or oranges, so it looked like the ocean, so it looked like coral. You could do that. You could use all sorts of tones and colours. And now this one here, I'm going to go over that green, and hopefully, oh, sorry, with the white, hopefully a little bit of that green will also come through, and you'll end up with light green. Okay, I'm going to peel that one off. Beautiful. So you've got the darker green there, and then the white and the light green. I'm going to do one more over here. And this time I'm going to use light blue. Ooh, I need to be careful that it doesn't wobble. The other thing that you can do with doilies is that once you've used the pattern, I'm going to show you in a minute. Once you've used the pattern like that, you can use the curve. So I want to use this dark blue, and I can just paint around the curve, and it will give me that area that looks a bit like a cave or rocks. So I'm creating that curvy shape, and you can do double curves. Very good for if you're doing landscapes, to create that sort of curvy shape. So this is your ocean, and you can build it up however you want to. I think I'm about done there. So I'm now going to start painting our turtle. I'm going to use the blue that's on my mat here, and I want to add some water to it because I want it really nice and wet. So I'm just flicking some water into my blue, and then I'm going to make it nice and, I'm going to move my water over there, I think. I want it nice and runny so that it's more like a watercolour. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, we're going to paint our turtle. We're going to start off with, and it's not a full painting, it's a very soft painting. So you're going to learn how to do something very different, and we're going to use our fingers. Look at my hands, look at the bubble wrap. That's so cool. Okay, we're going to put the head in. The head is going to go here, and I'm not going to do a full circle. I'm going to do like a backwards C, or nearly an O with a little bit missing. So watch me. Here we go. And because it's a nice wet brush, it moves through really easily, okay? So that's my head of my turtle. Now we're going to put where the centre of the shell is. And the centre of the shell, kids, is going to be about here, okay? So there's my head, there's my shell. I'm going to do an oval. I'm going to spin my hand like we do when we're drawing, round and round. And now I'm going to put my oval down. And you need to put it in line with your head, okay? So that's the centre of the shell. And from the centre, from the oval, we're now going to put little lines like this, which is our shell. The sort of side, or the circumference, the outside shaping of our shell is going to go around the outside. And I'm just doing very soft little flick lines. Don't paint too hard. We're keeping this really soft today, okay? Very different. I'm painting all in blue, no pencil. I want to scratch my face, but I'm going to make it painty, aren't I? Okay. Let's put in our flippers. So, oh, sorry, before that, we need to paint the outside of the shell. So what I'm trying to do, I don't want to join them up like this, because if I join them up, it's going to end up having almost like a hexagonal straight edge. But I do want to go round them. So I'm going to carefully just draw a little bit at a time, because I don't need a full line. and just go around the outside of that turtle, okay? So that's the outside of that shell, inside of that shell, and we've got our sections marked off. Okay, now let's put in the flippers. I'm going to use that watery blue again. This is us drawing it up. Now, he's swimming this way, so his two front flippers are going to go out like this. A flipper goes straight first, and then it bends like that. Straight out, and then it bends. And this flipper goes about as far back as beyond halfway in the shell. Same on this side. Straight out, then bends. Straight out, then bends. Hopefully you can see that. And then the underneath of the flipper, you don't want it to be such a hard line. You want it to be more of a curve. So watch me. I'm going to curve, and then I'm going to join it out there, because that's where it, if I show you on the mat, if I carried on drawing, that would be the edge of the flipper. Okay, but obviously it's gone off the paper. And as I've told you before, we're fine with that, aren't we? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be within the paper. Okay, the other flipper over here, we're going to do curve and join. Like that. So that's its flipper. And these two flippers at the back, the two back legs, they don't actually come out from the side. So quite often you see children or somebody drawing it, and it's a bit like when they draw spiders and they put spiders all the way around the outside. And actually a spider's legs come between the head and the body, don't they? They come out in the thorax. Well, with the turtle, the legs actually come from the very back of the body, and they're like the rudder of a turtle. So they kind of steer the way. And they're like, if you know how to draw a fin on a shark, it's like that. So it's a curve on the outside and a curve on the inside. The other way comes inside this way. So the curve, both of them, they go like this. So they cut in together. So we're going to do curve on the outside and curve on the inside. Curve on the outside, curve on the inside, and the bit in between is where the tail goes. So that is our basic shape of our turtle. As you can see, he's really softly painted with our line. Now I'm going to use this colour, this golden ochre. And like I say, you can use whatever colour you want. I'm going to use my finger, so I've put it in the paint. And I'm going to start off with the head. And I'm going to start off and I don't want to put this all over the whole area. So I'm dabbing. And then I'm going to do each little portion of the shell. And the same with the wing. So you're using your painty fingers. And it's like it's almost like it's a shadow of where the turtle is. You know, you can't really tell. Well, you know what it is because you know what turtles look like, and so your brain is so clever. It goes, look, that's a turtle there. But the painting is so soft and mysterious, we're not really sure, are we? We can't see all of it. And sometimes doing paintings like this are really fun because you explore how to create art in a different way. So we're using our fingers. We're not painting every single thing that we see. It's just what we call an impression of what we see. All right? It's just an impression of what we see. And if you've done a turtle like this, you could try doing a fish or a shark, or you could do a bunch of flowers. So the technique that I'm using, where we do a background first, and then we use some pattern. So we've done some printmaking. And now with finger painting, who knew it would be so exciting that you can layer things up like this. So I'm painting enough of the shell and the turtle, so there's some areas that are quite deep in colour, and then there's other areas that are just blending away into nothing, and you can see that background. And that's how I'm creating that softness, okay? If you decide you don't like this and you just want to paint it with a paintbrush, then that's absolutely fine. I never want anyone to think they can't do what they like to do. If they like to do that, of course you can. That's absolutely fine. This is just Karen showing you other ways to paint so that you can play and experiment and realise that you can be clever and creative in so many different ways, and you don't necessarily have to be super good at drawing to create amazing art. What you need to have is confidence and a real keenness to have a go. That's all you need, kids. And maybe me. If you hook in with Beth, she'll show you the way. That's the thing, isn't it? I'm here to show you the way. I don't judge you, mind. Okay, so you can see my turtle starting to come. I want to add a tiny bit of white. So I'm just adding tiny patches of white. Not very much. Look, hardly any paint on my finger. But just enough to add a little bit of highlight. Almost as if the light is coming down through the water and just catching. I'm nearly done. Once we've done this, we're going to do a little bit of pattern work with a brush. I'm going to put a tiny bit on his tail, a tiny bit on that flipper, tiny bit there on that flipper, a little bit more on the shell just there. And that's it, I think. That's all I'm going to do with my finger painting. Okay, now I'm going to finish off my picture with a bit of detail using my brush. Now, I'd quite like to get some darker areas. So what I can do is mix the blue and the green together, look, and I get really dark green. And I want it a bit darker than that. So the more blue you add, the darker it will become. Okay, so I'm going to create some pattern work, okay? So I'm going to do a coil. And I'm going to do another coil. And I'm going to do one that looks like it's just coming around the edge. 3 little patterns there. Now I'm going to do some line work on my turtle. So I'm just going to do a couple little lines on the outside of the fins. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do some coiling just on the top of the shell. And it doesn't matter if you can't see all of it, I just kind of want to give the impression that there is some kind of pattern on the top, okay? So I'm not making sure that it's perfect, I'm just trying to do a little coil like that. That one hardly came out at all, did it? There we go. Gorgeous. And then with the dark green, I want to divide. You know how the shell on the top has like sections? So I've just done some lines down through the middle. And now I'm kind of making them into big shapes, almost like they are boxes, but I'm trying not to join them together because I just wanted, I just want you to be able to see that there's a shape there without it being too obvious. So just enough of a drawing so that you can see that that's the top of the shell. Okay, I'm going to get some white, and I'm not cleaning my brush. I don't want my brush to be wet. So I'm getting some white, so it'll end up being light green, and I'm just going to add a couple of little light lines over the top of the ones I've drawn, just to highlight where the shell went, like that. And that's enough. Beautiful. Now what you could do is do some little fishies. So I'm going to do one little fishy there. So there's a little body and a little tail. So you could do like a little shoal of fishies. A shoal means a little group, doesn't it? And they can be whatever shape you want. Try to keep them not bright white if I were you. So keep them light green or light blue, just so they look like they're in the shadows, in the distance, but you can't really see them because our main feature is our turtle. And these little fishies are just swimming away in the background there. Do another little body, so it's like a little leaf shape, and then it's a triangle for a tail. And they don't have to be perfect because obviously, they're right in the distance. And then finally, from the bottom, I'm just going to do some wiggly lines up through as if there's a little bit of seaweed. Now you can use whatever colour you want. I'm just using a little bit of white with a tiny bit of green in it. just enough to cut through. And now I'm going to do some darker as well. And it really isn't very much, like you can't see the whole line, and that's okay. You just see part of it, and your mind goes, oh, there's a little line there, and you know that it's seaweed. We all know that it's seaweed. And that's it. Oh, I tell you what, I might do one final thing. Let's give him some air bubbles, shall we? So using my white paint, here's my turtle. I might just give him some air bubbles up to the surface. Just little ones, so it looks like he's breathing. That's it. And that is today's painting. With our fingers, with a doily, with some bubble wrap. Who knew you could make this beautiful painting? I hope you have lots of fun. I'll see anybody else coming back at 7 o'clock, and I'll see you next Saturday.